Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another interesting episode of the Candid Talk here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Evan Sokini. I'm so glad that you're joining us for these conversations, and we do hope that our leaders are watching as well, because these conversations will definitely influence some of the decisions that they're making in this country, and as far as governance and public policy is concerned. Definitely, I'm dealing with the best, and of course there couldn't be anybody who could actually advise them better than Professor Herman Manyora. Prof, how are you?
Good.
Yes.
Yes.
Man all the way from Luambei.
From Luambei, Vihiga County.
In Vihiga County.
Yes, yes.
And you people never disappoint. What my friends from the Western.
Yes.
Right now I understand that you've got your own Jesus. It's called Yesu Atongaren.
Yes. When God was making this country, he started there. By the time he got some of these other places, he was tired. Yes.
So Jesus Tongaren is also a real one, and he actually claims that there is no difference between the biblical Jesus and him. In fact, he's the real one.
Yes,
he's
the
same one.
Yes.
Hi, my people from Western.
Yes.
You'll never stop amazing us anyway.
Yes.
Here we are, Prof. Still moving ahead. Now, there is some Kenyans do tend to believe that right now, what is making it difficult for there to be a conversation between the president and opposition is one factor, that is Rigathi Gachagua, the deputy president. And they're saying that one is a hardliner. He wants to kind of actually topple Uhuru Kenyatta actually from the leadership of the Kikuyu community, and he wants to ensure that actually the former president will have no say there at the same time. And we also saw him saying very well that the only conversation that he can have, that the government can have with the opposition leader Raila Odinga, is how he can actually retire to Bondo. So in fact, people are saying that he's more of a hardliner than the president himself. Do you believe that kind of sentiment?
Well, saying the only conversation is one on how one can go home is to play with a very serious situation and turn it into something like childish games. It's not to understand the magnitude of an issue. But I don't believe that Rigathi Gachagua can stand in the way of Ruto doing that which is right. I doubt.
You doubt?
I doubt that Ruto would want to embrace Raila, and Gachagua, because he wants it not to happen, stands in the way. I doubt.
Why would you underestimate the influence of Rigathi Gachagua in this government?
It's not a question of underestimating. Is perhaps, why are you not asking me why I'm underestimating the other one? You know, I believe Ruto is intelligent enough to know the right decisions to make. And whereas he may listen to advice from his deputy, he is not obliged to follow everything the deputy says. He told us much. When he was blamed why Uhuru's government wasn't doing certain things, he said his was to advise. Whether or not the advice was taken was another issue. So the same can apply to him today. I don't think a deputy. There have been very few cases in history where an individual was having some magical control, like Rasputin in Russia, like Nancy on Reagan, the wife, like Dick Cheney on Bush. There are very few situations where an individual can have the power to ensure the president of a country or the king does only that which they think should be done. There are very few such situations.
A number of Kenyans are saying that the deputy president is holding the president hostage because of the number of votes that are available in central Kenya. And there are those who believe that under no circumstance can the president risk losing that kind of vote basket, because if he does so, then he's doomed.
I don't think, important as Rigathi Gachagua is, I don't think you can equate Mount Kenya to Rigathi Gachagua. So I think what the president will need to do is that which is good for the people of this country and Mount Kenya in this instance. That's all. I mean, the president, so it's like saying all the president will need to do is please Gachagua. and everything will fall in place on the mountain. That can't work. No, that can't work. That can't work. You can please Gachagua the way you want, but if you don't do what people think you should do.
You don't remember the Kenya Kwanza governments were not actually in support of Jeremiah Kioni's candidature to EALA.
Yes.
Gachagua made that happen.
No, those are small little things. Those are small little.
But at least we, and even, okay, Jeremiah Kioni came forth and said, no, this man is influential. If it were not for him, I wouldn't be here.
No, if somebody said Gachagua was not influential, they will be lying. Or it will be that they don't understand.
So my question is this.
Politics.
Now let's take it from that perspective of whatever it is that now, for the Kenya Kwanza members of parliament who are eligible to vote for one person, if at all the direction was we are not voting for this guy, then the directive should have come from above.
From who?
Of course, they have their leader, they have the president there, and who has got actually a say and influence in all these things.
Let me tell you something. The easiest thing to sell is hate. You don't need to be a trained salesman to sell hate. Uhuru and Gachagua successfully sold hate to the people of Mount Kenya. And they directed all that to Uhuru Kenyatta. It's an age-old tactic. When people have a problem, just harness all that anger, create hate, and then create an object of hate. Simple. That's what Ruto did. And that's why I've been saying this Azimio people. And I said it in 2019, that this election was going to be won or lost on narratives. Who told what story? The man with the best story, brought forward by the best storytellers, will carry the day. And that's what Ruto did. Yeah, so you create, you know people are suffering. Then you tell them, please, you are suffering has been caused by this group of people, the dynasty, embodied by Uhuru Kenyatta. He becomes the object of hate. So selling hate is a very small thing. It's the simplest thing to do.
Is that tactic likely to
works,
stand the test
and it has
time?
worked throughout history. Yeah, it works very well. So the other side did not see it coming. You have to see where somebody's going. Like in the current war between Raila and Uhuru, they must be careful of how Ruto seems to be carrying the day. Because he's still presenting Uhuru as that object of hate. And the one person responsible for the suffering of the Kenyan people before the elections. And right now, standing in the way of William Ruto delivering on his promises. And that side is not seeing. They are not seeing it. That is how Ruto is playing the game. First, make Uhuru the object of hate. Responsible for all the suffering people elect you into office. You get into office and you realize, if you didn't know, that delivering is not easy. You remember it was very easy to mobilize people to hate Uhuru Kenyatta. You proceed to do the same. And point at Uhuru Kenyatta as a man who is making it impossible for Kenyans to move forward. For him to deal with economic hardships. He stole all your money. He doesn't pay taxes. And people buy it.
Okay.
People forget why you are not delivering. So the other side could not counter William Ruto. They are unable to do it now. And I fear for them that he will carry the day.
So do you think this kind of story will be carried by this regime all the way to 2027?
Yes. They can do it successfully. Because in politics, you must get somebody to counter. If nobody counters like in court, then the other litigant gets it. Yeah.
Definitely. Now, still talking about the kind of influence that we've seen the deputy president, of course, you've seen him make a number of controversial statements back in the past, and he's been termed as a local tribal leader. A number of people have also accused him of not having that kind of realization that he is a national figure and not actually a deputy president for the Kikuyu community. Do you buy that kind of idea that in as so far as, okay, with the number of times that the deputy president has been outside here expressing himself, he's packaged himself as one who belongs to the Kikuyu community alone?
You know, there are many tactics you could use. If your overall strategy is to get the president in 2032, and you are Rigathi Gachagua, you may do things which people think are stupid. You may even be buffoonery in your approach. But supposing your long-term strategy is to be president in 2032. So what do you want to do? You want to get the community at all costs. That could be his strategy. To get the Kikuyu community, the Gema community, mountain community,
Right
all
behind
in one basket behind him. You know there are risks associated with that. But you say these are calculated risks. Let me appear to be a tribalist. But then, if I enlist the support of the mountain, I have already won 40% of what I need to become president. I then go and look for 10% or 20%. It's a game. Maybe that is strategy. Yeah.
You're trying to prove the kind of theory that people are saying that Gachagua's influence cannot go beyond the mountain right now.
And he doesn't seem to care. It could be a strategy on his part.
So with him,
I'm not going to care. Let me take the mountain.
as long as the mountain is locked
Yes,
behind it.
once you lock the mountain, what remains is simple. If the Kalenjin will support you, because they are unlikely to support somebody else, much less have a candidate of their own. So with the Kalenjin and the mountain locked, what else do you need? You need very little, which you will get. Who knows? You could even get the Luos through Winnie Odinga. Say, Winnie, come here and be prime minister. Or whatever, deputy prime minister.
Okay.
And you're home and dry. So he's not a fool. I don't want to think Gachagua doesn't know what he's doing. But he will allow you to think he doesn't know what he's doing. Assuming he has a strategy. It's a very successful strategy of locking the mountain. But then the strategy now must be fulfilled through well-defined and executed tactics. If one of the tactics is to hit at Uhuru Kenyatta, I want to assure him he will lose.
But he was.
You don't touch Uhuru Kenyatta.
But he was successful
No.
in that.
No.
Then how then do you gauge the recent kind of success in
Some
making sure-
successes are short-lived. Short-lived successes. It can take you to State House.
Okay. Now, Prof, going forward, now let us leave the man Gachagua alone, then come into what we call now national governance here. It definitely chairs ABEC, and of course it coordinates that kind of relationship between the county government and the national government in here. During the kind of retreat that the MPs had in Mombasa, the post-election retreat that they had therein, the issue about allocation of revenue and share of the sharing of revenue between the national government and the county government came on board. And of course, the MPs were demanding for, not the MPs, but actually the governors were demanding for around 425 billion. Something which the governor, the deputy president said that they do not have. In fact, he said that SRC is proposing 45 billion. Well, that is good, but then we cannot afford that. All that we have is 380. Perhaps you can reach that amount. Do you think that the president, okay, the deputy president is of any significance in as much as this kind of allocation of revenue between the county government and the national government is concerned? And do you think, like, does he kind of bring any kind of importance in that kind of portfolio that has been given?
Yeah, by law and regulations or whatever administrative structures, he chairs that. He's supposed to be influential. So even when the DP was saying he was not part of Uhuru's government, that was not true because that is his docket, strictly for the DP. But you see, when it comes to money matters, it's not just SRA, Commission of Revenue Allocation. It is not just what the counties think, it's not what Senate thinks, it's not what MPs think. It's basically what the national government thinks. So if Gachagua is representing the national government, most likely the national government will have its way. That's how wrong this arrangement is.
There's a commission in charge of allocation of revenue.
But they are always they have never been followed. Their advice has never been followed.
There's
always ignored.
There's an entire committee that is supposed to be dealing with that.
But they're always ignored.
Then what is this? But they're consuming. They're paid by the taxpayers' money.
That's
for those
why I
kind
say it is the national government that will have its way. First of all, how much money you get is pegged on the last audited account. It is government to fast track the auditing of accounts. So I don't know where they are now. They are basing on audited account maybe of 6-7 years ago, I don't know. So you can't beat the government, even legal, even if they were just to stick to the law. You can't beat them. And that's why I say like governors who are kneeling before the president, they want development. MPs, they are going for development. There are things they can do to ensure, for example, you fast track auditing of accounts so that you are current. Then you don't need to go and beg the president because the counties will have more money because the accounts will be as recent as last year. And basing on that, the counties will get more money. But again, there are better strategies because many of us have not understood the 2020 constitution in terms of devolution. They have never understood, and nobody has bothered to understand. It is not how much money you give to counties. It is what kind of programs the government wants to get involved in improving the quality of lives of Kenyans. It's not about counties. No.
Now,
There are certain things, for example, which cannot be done by the national government. Even if, according to the schedule, those functions are not devolved, government can only do them through the county government. Equally, there are things, even though devolved, cannot be accomplished successfully without the superintendent, the government superintending over them, the national government. For example, you cannot do anything meaningful in water because it's devolved without the national government, because they are the ones who have the line experts. You can all the roads governors are doing, they are fake roads being washed after every season. Madam roads, because the engineers are not there. So you see, the bottom line is what is good for the people of this country. The devolved unit was just a structure that provides for functions to be divided, first of all, between the national and county government, devolved government, but leaving it open for either level to have their functions performed by the other level. It was deliberate. Why have they not gotten somebody, Kangu, Mutaha Kangu? He's the only man I've listened to who understands this constitution in terms of devolution. And it's a pity a man like that has never been in the center of government. Only Mutaha Kangu, according to me. And I have listened to him. There isn't a function that is strictly county or strictly government. And most of the national government functions cannot be performed without the county government. Actually, they should be performed by the county government. And there are also certain technical skills and expertise the county government cannot have. They will take years. And even having them will be duplication of roles where you overemploy. Because the resources are already with the national government. So it's not a question of, to me, it's not a question of how much money should give the county government. It's a question of what services do the Kenyan people want and need. And can the government afford them? What arrangement do we put in place so that whatever resources is available is put at the disposal of both the national government and the county government, because the end result is to deliver to the people of Kenya. Yes.
Do you believe the government is broke as proclaimed by the deputy president?
How is the government broke? They told us the government had nothing, but they are eating salaries and they are getting fat. They have changed. They are dressing better than they used to dress. They laugh better. Wengine meno imekuwa nyeupe kuliko vile ilikuwa. The suits are better. I saw something doing the rounds about Murkomen. He has a Birion suit, which he could never have bought, if it is true. It may not be true. But he looks different. Surely it's not the same Murkomen we knew. This is less than 6 months. So how is the government broke and people are beaming with happiness and wamenda kunona, unavaa suit mzuri, unavaa saa expensive? Government has money.
But he says that they cannot afford that.
No,
and they cannot give it to the counties.
But they have been going all over the world. How do you travel all over the world without government having money?
And recently in Mombasa, the board.
When the government goes, when the whole government goes for prayers in Narok, you think they use their own money? Those vehicles you see, they are fueled by government money.
By the government, by the public money?
By the public money. So there's money.
And recently.
And we must support them. They are our people. We want them to live good lives. Yeah, they must be clean. Otherwise, how do you expect your president to be presented on the international arena when he's not well dressed? Even your ministers must put on Birion suits.
And finally, recently, two functions were held in Mombasa for the MPs. The first one was botched actually. That one consumed around 79 million. Then the successful one went with over 205 million.
It's foolish.
And then you come and tell us that
when I use words like foolish, stupid, people say Manyora. These words, don't use them. How can you explain what was going on in Mombasa unless it is just folly? Only stupid people can do what was going on in Mombasa. You are crying, you have no money. Your people are dying of hunger. You are going to beg across the world. You are going with a till number. People are dying. Children are not going to school. Doctors are not employed. Those employed are poorly paid. Kenyans are going to bed hungry. And the entire leadership of the country is going to burn 200 million. Doing nothing. When people look at you, they can only say you are stupid people. English is difficult, but it's not so difficult as to lack a word to describe what was going on in Mombasa. Yeah.
Definitely, ladies and gentlemen, that is a very good point to wrap up this conversation. We do hope that our leaders are watching and they've got a professor right. Of course, if you're watching us for the first time, we are kindly pleading that you subscribe to our channel here. And of course, comment down there so that we can know what you think about what is taking place in this country and what you would want us to dive into so that we make it clear to you. Till we have this conversation again, have yourself a very lovely day. My name is Evans Okinyi.